早安。
Good morning.
We want to talk about the controversy of the millennium.
我们要谈一下关于千禧年的争论。
Many people think of it just as a dispute about Revelation 20.
那大家认为这个争论主要就是在启示录第20章。
But in fact, it's a complex issue that involves many texts in the Bible.
事实上呢，这个题目牵连了圣经许多的这一个部分的经文，这是一个复杂的题目。
And many people just want to be told what the right answer is.
有的人说，你只要告诉我哪个是对的就好了。
But it's challenging because some texts in the Bible appear to support more than one view.
这个很具有挑战性，因为看来有些经文不只是支持某一种立场，可能是有2-3种立场都可以得到经文的支持。
So it's better to take our time and understand each of the main views.
那最好我们花点时间了解这个每一个主要立场他们的说法是什么。
In my opinion, the central question is the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy.
对我来说呢，最重要的是这个是千禧年是应验了旧约的预言。
Particularly, there are prophecies of a great coming day of salvation.
特别是这个预言讲到这个要来的这个大日拯救的日子来到。
Concerning the last days.
那就是所谓的末后的日子。
So I'm calling those eschatological prophecy.
所以我称这是一个末世性的预言。
One of those texts is Isaiah 65:17 to 25.
那经文是我们有一段经文，请看以赛亚书65章17节到第25节。
We're going to take it as an example.
那我们用这个呢做一个例子来讲。
Let's read it together in Chinese.
好，让我们一起用中文来念啊。第65章以赛亚书17节，65章17到25节。好，翻到了，我们一起来念，请看啊，我造新天新地，从前的事不再被纪念，也不再追想。你们当因我所造的永远欢喜快乐，因我造耶路撒冷为人所喜，造其中的居民为人所乐。我必因耶路撒冷欢喜，因我的百姓快乐，其中必不再听见哭泣的声音和哀嚎的声音，其中并没有数日夭亡的婴孩，也没有寿数不满的老者，因为100岁死的人算孩童，有100岁死的罪人算被咒诅。他们要建造房屋，自己居住，栽种葡萄园，吃其中的果子。他们建造的，别人不得住；他们栽种的，别人不得吃。因为我民的日子必像树木的日子，我选民亲手劳碌得来的，必长久享用。他们必不突然劳碌，所生产的也突然遭害，因为都是蒙耶和华赐福的后裔。他们的子孙也是如此。他们尚未求告，我就应允；正说话的时候，我就垂听。豺狼必与羊羔同食，狮子必吃草与牛一样，尘土必作蛇的食物，在我圣山的遍处，这一切都不伤人，不害物。这是耶和华说的。
The central disputed question is, when is the principal fulfillment of this passage?
那么这个争论的关键在于说，这段经文的这个最后实现是在什么时候
And other passages like it.
还有其他类似经文。
Is the fulfillment in the age we're in right now?
是在我们今天所处的时代就应验吗？
Or is it in the consummation in the new heaven and the new earth?
或是在新天新地那时候才应验的？
Or is it some other period?
或者是其他的时候呢？
And a surface reading, I think you can see it seems to be in between.
那么从表面我们读了之后，发现好像这应该在中间哈。
So Bible interpreters have postulated that it's fulfilled in a different age, intermediate between now and the consummation.
所以圣经学者也在讨论说，这是在现在的时代和将来新天新地完那个时候的在中间的时候，这段经文才是所说的。
This intermediate age is still future from our time period.
那么这个居中的这个时期呢，对我们现在来说仍然是未来的。
And it's better than what we have now.
那是比现在我们所得到的更好。
But not all evil is eliminated.
但没有说到所有的邪恶都被除尽了。
And there's still human death.
仍然有人会死亡。
So the final age I call the golden age.
那么这个最后的我们称为是黄金时代。
Because it's the best of all.
因为这是最棒的。
That's the new heaven and the new earth.
那就在新天新地的时候。
So this intermediate time would be a silver age.
那这个居中的状态是称为是白银的银色时期。
And the remaining question is, when is this dated?
那接下来问的是，到底这个居中的这个银色时期是什么时候呢？
Because we know in the New Testament that Jesus has already come the first time.
我们知道主耶稣新约圣经告诉他第一次来已经来了。
And he promises to come a second time.
他将要第二次来。
And now that second coming is still future for us.
那这个主耶稣的再来对我们来说仍然是未来。
But what's its relation to the silver age?
那这个和那个银色时代是有什么关系呢？
And there are two possibilities.
那有两个可能性。
Either can come before the silver age or after.
那耶稣就再来是在这个银色时期之前或是之后。
And that leads to two different positions in the history of interpretation.
就在这个解经的历史上就带来两种不同的立场。
And they're both called with the term millennium.
那这都称为是这个所谓的千禧年、千年。
And I won't get into why.
那我不要花很多时间解释为什么会这样发展。
But the first one is called Premillennialism.
那我要讲的是第一个，就是讲到说后千禧年论。
And it says that Christ will come back again the second time.
那是说到耶稣第二次再来啊。
And that's represented by the star here.
那就是这个星星的所代表的时候。
Here's where we are.
那我们就在这个今天这个时候。
And after his coming is this silver age.
那这个耶稣基督再来之后，这是所谓的银色时代。
And many people think it lasts literally 1,000 years.
那许多人认为这个银色时代是有1000年之久。
Millennium means 1,000 years.
那这个所谓千年就是千年就是有1000年之久的意思，所以千禧年。
But the main thing about premillennialism is the order of events.
那这个主要这个千禧年的观念在就是时间的发生的次序哈。
And then at the end of the silver age, you get the new heaven and the new earth.
然后这个银色就属于千禧年之后呢，就来了新天新地，是黄金时代了。
And the people who believe this naturally try to match it up with Isaiah 65.
这样相信的人呢，就会尽量把以赛亚书65章把这个经文就把它拉到那个中间。
So they would say the second coming, though not directly mentioned, is at the beginning of this period described in Isaiah 65.
所以他们就说，虽然以赛亚书65章这段经文没有讲到耶稣再来，但是这是应该说直接指向耶稣再来引进的这个银色
And
时代。
then the middle is a description of this silver age.
那第65章20到25节就描述这个是中间的这个银色时期。
And later on in Isaiah 66, there's a description of a lake of fire, which is the very end.
那66章以赛亚讲到有这个火湖，是应该讲到最后了哈。
And now, what support is there for this viewpoint?
那这样的讲法有什么支持呢？
The people who hold this viewpoint will point to several passages.
那支持这种看法的人会指出几下经文。
If I had to argue in favor of it, I would probably start with Zechariah 14.
如果假设我要支持这种看法的话，我可能会从撒迦利亚书14章开始。
Because it begins with a passage which in many people's reckoning is a description of the second coming.
因为这个经文一开始很多人以为是讲耶稣第二次再来，
And there's some kind of renewal of the earth.
然后后来接着说到这个地的更新。
But even late in this chapter, there appears to be some evil that's still left.
那在这个14章的后面，甚至还提到好像这个还有一些邪恶还存在。
And the second position is called postmillennialism.
那另外一个立场称为是千禧年，前面是前千禧年前派，现在讲的是千禧年后派。
And the order of events starts with where we are.
那这个是今天我们所在的位置。
But then there is a gradual transition into the Silver Age.
然后慢慢就转变成所谓银色时代。
More and more people worldwide become Christians.
越来越多在这个世界各地，很多人悔改信耶稣，成为基督徒。
And God honors that by blessing them and blessing the world as a whole.
神这个赐福给这些人，也等于赐福这个世界了。
And then it's the second coming.
然后耶稣再来。
And then the new heaven and new earth.
然后新天新地。
And of course, these people also try to fit Isaiah 65 into their view.
然后这些人也把以赛亚书65章来套进他们的看法里面。
But in their view, this description Isaiah 65 has a gradual beginning.
他们解释65章以赛是有一个渐进的开始。
And then, of course, the middle part describes the period.
那这章中间讲到是这个茂盛的繁华时代啊。
And the second coming is at the end.
有这个银色时代过了之后，然后耶稣基督再来。
Even though it's not directly mentioned in Isaiah 65.
虽然以赛亚书65章没有直接提到耶稣再来。
What's the support for post-millennial viewpoint?
支持后千禧年论的支持在哪里呢？
If I were to argue in favor of it, I would go first of all to some of Jesus' parables in Mark 4 and in Matthew 13.
如果我要支持这种讲法的话，我会新约的福音书经文马可4章、马太福音13章耶稣讲的比喻。
Mark 4 has a number of parables about growing plants and growing trees.
那马可4章说到这个比喻，说到这个像芥菜种啊，后来长大树，从小的开始。
And Mark 4:31 talks about the kingdom of God being like a mustard seed.
那马可福音4章31节说，神的国像那芥菜种一样。
So it starts very small.
它开始是非常小的，
But then it grows until it's a big tree.
它长大成为一个大树。
Well, that seems to imply a gradual growth into this period of prosperity.
这似乎是暗示说是这个逐渐的渐进的成长到最后这样繁华茂盛的时候。
And then when the tree becomes really big, that's the Silver Age.
那当这个树成为很大的时候呢，这就是所谓的进到银色时期了。
And there's another parable that talks about the harvest at the end of the age.
那另外一个比喻讲到，在这个时代的结束时候，另外有一个丰收的时候。
And if you combine those, you could argue that the harvest is after the period of growth.
这个你可以从以上的这个结论合在一起推论，说到这是讲到后面的。
And there's a third view as well.
然后我们讲到这第三种看法。
It's that there is no such distinctive period, no such Silver Age.
那就是说，这种看法说没有一个银色时代可以从一个特征出来。
Rather, there's the first coming of Christ here.
那就是耶稣第一次来。
And then there's the whole age of the church until Christ comes the second time here.
那耶稣基督第二次来之前有一个长期的属于教会的时代，就今天这个时代。
And this whole age is the age of victory and triumph of faith.
整个时代都是这个信仰的得胜、信心得胜的时代。
And then the second coming leads immediately into the new heaven and new earth.
然后耶稣就再来，就立刻引进这黄金时代、新天新地。
What's the support that these people call for?
那这样的看法得到的支持是什么呢
Or how would they put Isaiah 65 into their position?
他们如何来把以赛亚书65章放进他们的系统里面呢？
Well, there's at least two ways that have been tried.
那至少有两种方式尝试过。
One is to say that Isaiah 65 is a poetic passage.
第一个是说以赛亚书65章是一个诗歌的题材，
And that it actually combines features of the present age and the future new heaven and new earth.
它实际上包含了所有现在以及将来的这个新天新地时代所有都包含在内了。
Because the present age is the age of a preliminary fulfillment.
因为这一个现在的这个时代是未来这个时代的现今呢已经开始的实现。
Christ has already brought eternal salvation.
主耶稣已经带来永远的救恩了。
And the second coming will be the consummation of what has already started.
那主耶稣再来是最后最终的成就，已经在第一次来开始带来的这个所做成
So
的。
that the two phases actually belong together.
所以这两个时期其实是合在一起的。
And if you want to describe them together in a single poetic passage, it will sound to the naive person like something intermediate.
所以如果你要把这两个时期合在一起，在以赛亚书65章讲的话，那么你说中间有个居中时期呢，这个是看起来很天真的啊。
And when you hear that, your reaction may be, well, that's a little more difficult kind of interpretation.
所以你初次乍听之下觉得这样的解释好像是有困难的。
But the other two positions also have difficulty.
但是另外所说过的两个解释、两个立场学派也有它的困难。
Because if you look at this passage, the very first part of it in verse 17 talks about the new heaven and the new earth.
因为你一看一开始17节65章以赛亚书一开始有说新天新地，就讲到新天新地了。
And that expression is taken up in Revelation 21:1.
那是在以赛亚所说，这里是在启示录21章第1、第2节所讲的。
And in Revelation 21:1, it's already the final golden age.
因为启示录第21章第1节已经开始了这个最终的黄金时代了。
So the introduction of this passage appears to be talking about the golden age.
所以呢，以赛亚书这里一开始说这个新天新地，应该是讲到新天新地了啊。
And yet the
黄金时代。
the premillennialism and postmillennialism say, no, it's talking about a silver age.
那这个前千禧年派跟后千禧年派说，哦，不是这样，那是讲到那个银色的居中的时代。
And so in fact, I think that all three positions have to struggle with this passage.
所以我想这三个学派的立场都需要挣扎，就是这以赛亚书65章怎么解释。
And now only one position can be right in the end.
那当然，最终只有一个立场是对的，不可能通通是对的。
But it just means it's not as easy as you think.
但这至少告诉我们，这不是像你想象那么简单的。
Well, what support is there for the amillennial view?
这第三种立场称为所谓的无千禧年派，那它的得到的支持是什么呢？
Amillennialism being the technical term for this position with no silver age.
那这个所谓无千禧年派成为这个专有名词，讲的是认为没有银色时期的，这个叫做无千禧年派。
Well, the defenders of amillennialism often point to 2 Peter 3.
那这个支持辩护这种立场，通常引用了彼得后书第3章第3节。
We can't take the time to look at it thoroughly right now.
我们现在没有办法花很仔细的时间来讨论这一节经文。
But if you just read this passage and no other part of the Bible, it does seem to support amillennialism.
如果你只念这个经文，没有去看别的经文，你可能会发现它的确是支持的这个无千禧年派。
Early in the chapter, in verse 3, it talks about people who continue to scoff at the whole idea of the second coming.
那第3章在前面讲到说，不断的有人在讥笑这个耶稣再来的事情。
And they make fun of the Christians who believe in the second coming.
他们这个讥笑这个相信基督徒相信耶稣第二次再来是取笑他们。
Well, that does not sound like the postmillennial idea that before the second coming, the Christianity is going to take over.
那这样来说，千禧年后派说，那个世界越来越往前进，这个全世界越来越多信耶稣基督，整个世界会被主耶稣基督的福音所征服。看来好像不是这样。
And then verse 4 mentions the second coming.
那第3章第4节说到这个耶稣的再来。
Essentially right after this scoffing.
那是在这些讥笑人的讥笑之后，这个经文才说的。
And then a little later on, without mentioning any silver age, it talks about the new heaven and the new earth.
那后来的经文没有提到这个居间的银色时代，就直接讲到这个新天新地了。
So as I say, if you just read this passage, looks like the second coming leads immediately to the new heaven and the new earth.
所以，如果你只看这段经文的话，那看来就是这个主耶稣第二次来就立刻引进了新天新地。
So that's essentially the amillennial position.
这正是这个所谓千禧年无派的这个主要立场。
Now, the other positions still have something to say about this passage.
当然，其他的这个学派立场也要解释这个经文呢。
They're aware that it exists.
他们知道这个经文存在。
And one of the things they could say is, well, it just doesn't mention all the details.
那他们要说是，难道这个经文是不是把所有细节都说出来了呢？
But it certainly, as I say, if you just read this one passage, it looks like it's amillennialism.
但是像我刚刚说过，你只读这个经文，看来这个经文是支持无千禧年派的立场。
So now we have three positions that are summarized in that chart.
现在我们有在这个图表上看有3个立场并列出来，大家可以看一下。
And they differ in the order and the detail of the events.
他们对关于事件发生的这个次序跟细节呢都不同看法。
I believe you have a handout that almost always also summarizes these.
我相信大家手上有我刚刚发的这个讲义，把这个他们的论点都大总结出来，大概出来。
Now it's a little more complicated because actually there are two forms of premillennialism.
更复杂的是，这个千禧年前派有2种看法。
One of them I'll call classic premillennialism has been a position that has been around since the 2nd century AD.
那这个第一种叫做古典的千禧年派，是从早期教会第2世纪就已经开始有这种说法。
And that's what I've already described.
这是已经说出来了。
But there's another one, dispensational premillennialism.
那另外一个前千禧派立场叫做时代论的前千立场。
And this view says that there are actually 2 second comings.
那这个立场说，基督耶稣再来，那再来本身也分2次。
The first of them right there is called the rapture.
那第一次这个叫做这个星星这地方叫做被提。
And according to this view, that coming of Christ is invisible to the world.
那他们解释说，那一次耶稣来的，就是他带来的第一次是世人看不见的。
And what happens is that the Christians are taken out of the world and go up to be with Christ in heaven.
但那时候呢，这个基督徒被提到天上与主相遇哈。
Then there are 7 years of tribulation and God's wrath poured out on the earth.
然后有7年大灾难，就上帝的震怒倾倒在这地上。
And then there's an open, visible second coming at the end of the 7 years.
在7年大灾难之后呢，主耶稣有形有体的在世人众目睽睽之下，他降临了。
And after that comes the Silver Age.
然后开始引进这个银色时期。
So this is still premillennialism because of where the silver is.
那这仍然是这个千禧年前派，因为它还是有这个银色时期。
And now there's something else about the dispensational view.
当然这里我们看见这个时代论的前千他们的一些特别的讲法。
Here's the diagram again.
这是同样再来一个图示。
But the dispensational view also distinguishes sharply between the church and the Jews.
这个时代论的前千派特别仍然区分教会跟以色列人是不同的。
And the Old Testament is primarily Jewish.
这个旧约他们说主要是给犹太人的。
And after the church is taken out, there's another Jewish period.
然后到这个教会时代过去之后，又开始有个犹太人时期。
So there, in the details, this is depends on this sharp contrast between Israel and the church.
所以这个立场其实是根据是一个尖锐的划分。教会跟以色列是2批人。
So there are a whole cluster of issues that arise.
所以一大堆的问题就出现了。
And we can't get into them all this morning.
今天早上我们不可能讨论这每一个。
If you want, you can read my book, Understanding Dispensationalists.
如果你有兴趣的话，请你读我所写的书，翻译成中文叫做《认识时代论者》。
Myself, I don't agree with this position.
那我自己呢，不赞成这个时代论的前千立场。
But because there are so many issues, it would take a long time to discuss.
因为有太多的细节需要讨论，需要花很多时间的。
Now, people who hold this position would point to 1 Thessalonians 4 and 5.
那么支持这个立场人会引用贴插罗尼迦前书第4章第5章。
1 Thessalonians 4 talks about the rapture.
那贴前第4章讲到被提，
And everybody in all the positions believe in a rapture.
当然所有各种立场都承认会被提哈。
The question is whether it's invisible or not,
那问题在于是到底这个被提是秘密的还是公开的？
and whether it's distinct in time from the open, visible second coming.
那是不是在这个是在那时间上来说是具体公开可见的时候被提？
So if you're already a dispensationalist, you can make a correlation between your position and 1st and 2nd Thessalonians.
如果你是个时代论者的话，你当然会把像贴前还有贴后的经文把它合在一起来解释支持这个看法。
But I've heard dispensationalists themselves say that really their position derives from a large number of passages and can't be just read off from one passage.
我听过这些时代论者说，他们的立场不是只有这几处经文，还有很多其他经文支持他们这样宣称的。
Okay, so now we've seen the positions.
那现在我们看这些立场了，
And we can summarize them in terms of what they agree on and what they don't agree on.
我们可以来这个总结一下他们所共同赞成的或他们所不同意的。
All the people I'm talking about believe that the Bible is true and is the Word of God.
我说这4种不同立场，他们都是相信圣经，相信上帝的话没有任何错的，他们都是这样相信的。
The issue is the meaning of the Bible.
问题是他们如何解释圣经的意义？
And everybody agrees that Christ will appear and will come back.
大家都相信耶稣就会再来的。
And when he comes back, he will reign over the entire universe.
大家都相信，当他再来之后，他会统治整个宇宙。
And he will bring in a new world that will be a transformation, will not be just like this one.
他带来的新天新地是旧有的天地过去，就是经过改变，新天新地。
And we can rejoice in the fact we agree on all those major things.
我们可以欢喜快乐，因为在这些主要的这些立场、这些真理上，我们都是同意的。
But what do they disagree on?
那他们所不同意在哪儿呢？
They disagree on what is the immediately next thing after Christ comes
他们
back.
所不同意是，那么耶稣基督显现的时候，立刻要发生的事情是什么？
And what's the immediate thing just preceding his coming back?
以及他的再来之前所要发生的紧迫的事情要发生什么事情？
What's the relative order of events in time?
那这些事件的时间次序如何排列？
And there's where you get the three major positions.
因此，你知道这3个不同的立场。
Now, each position has its own
那
distinctives,
每一个立场都有它的独特的特征。
and each has something that's attractive about it.
那他们都有一些吸引人的地方，
And each has something that it shares with one or more of the others.
他们也都有和别的其他这个看法有
So
相似之处。
let me briefly look at this.
让我们来看一下这个。
So amillennialism is distinctive. Well, the other two positions have a more straightforward reading of the Old Testament prophecies.
我们先看这无签的立场。那么前签跟后签呢，他们都对旧约圣经有直接的这个解释。
And you can see that would seem to be an advantage.
你看出来这个大是一个好的一个优点
It's attractive.
这是吸引人的。
But amillennialism is saying this is poetry.
那这个后签却说这些是诗歌体啊。
And if we read it as if it were prose and it were all totally without imagination, we're reading it wrong.
如果我们把这些经文当作是这个叙述文来读的话，我们可能就把自己就想错了，把它猜想
And
了。
if it's God's love poetry to Jerusalem, it may be very much an imaginative kind of rendering of the future.
他们认为旧约这些经文是上帝爱耶路撒冷用诗歌来表达，所以你读太多意思进去的话，会带来很多问题。
And now amillennialism and postmillennialism share the conviction that when Christ comes in his glory and power, all evil must flee before him.
那这个对不起，这个后签跟无签呢，他们同样看法。耶稣就再来的时候就大能的荣耀，立刻就引进了这个最终的这个新天新地的这个
So
实
his
现。
second coming can mean nothing less than the golden age, the consummation.
所以换句话说，耶稣第二次来一定就是引进了这个新天新地这个黄金时代，不会再有中间还有其他这些麻烦没完没了的事情。
Premillennialism has this extra period of time to find fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies.
那前签呢，这个他的立场就是说，他认为中间隔了一个时期，千禧年时代，来实现一些旧约还没有实现的预言，他们是这样看法。
Because there are some prophecies that don't easily fit into just today or into the consummation.
因为这个旧约有些预言，他们认为说今天还没有实现，以将来新天新地也不是那时候实现。
Now the postmillennialist too has an extra period.
那么这个后签的立场也有这个另外一段时期哈。
But for postmillennialists, it still has to be very like today.
那这个后签立场说，那个一定和现今时代还是很相像的，
Because it's before the second coming.
因为这是在耶稣再来之前。
And for premillennialists, it can be radically unlike today.
这个对前签来说，那个会和现在是非常不一样。
Now, premillennialism and amillennialism share the conviction that during this age there's a continued struggle between good and evil.
那这个前签和无签呢，同样认为说，在今天这个时代会继续不断的有这个善恶的征战。
And postmillennialists emphasize that there's the power of the gospel to actually bring people to Christ.
后签是强调福音的大能，带领很多人悔改信基督的。
And that they think by the power of the gospel, eventually most of the world will be converted.
他们认为靠着上帝的大能传福音，全世界各地大多数人都会悔改信耶稣的。
Now, all three positions have some insight. They can't all be right.
那这三种立场呢，不可能都是对，但他们都有一些亮光洞见。
But I'm going to try to convince you that they have at least a bit of a truth in their insights.
至少我要想要劝服你，相信他们所讲的至少有一点亮光在里面。
For premillennialists, the emphasis is that Christ is larger and bigger and more glorious than what you can see now.
那么前签立场主要强调说，基督耶稣是比你现在所能想象的这个他来的时候更棒、更伟大的。
So they very much anticipate his coming again.
所以他们非常热烈盼望耶稣的再来。
For postmillennialists, the emphasis is in the fact that Christ is already reigning now. He's already seated at the right hand of God.
那么后签立场说，耶稣现在已经做王，在宝座上治理这个总管这个宇宙世界。
And therefore, we can have a fundamental optimism about the power of the gospel and that people will continue to come to Christ.
基本来说，我们应该抱着乐观态度的传福音，很多人会信耶稣，这个世界越来越多人信耶稣。
And the amillennialists emphasize that Christ reigns now.
那么这个无签的立场呢，也强调基督现在的作王。
The victory that he has achieved is operative even now.
他这个得胜已经现在彰显出来了。
So that in that respect, this is already a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies.
对他们来说，现在就已经实现了旧约的这些预言了。
This part is about the fact that these positions you can change your mind.
那这个图是表示说，事实上这三种立场你可以慢慢转移到另外一个立场。
But I'm going to skip that.
那我就把它略过，不讲了。就稍微换个角度看，其实这些都可以转移的差不多，讲的差不多了。对，我们看完了啊。
Now which position is right?
那哪一个立场是对的呢
？I'm going to try to tell you the strongest arguments that I can find for each of the three.
那我接着讲说，我所能找到最有力的支持论来支持不同立场的论点。
For premillennialism, I think it's Zechariah 14 that I already mentioned.
前签的话，我认为撒迦利亚书14章支持啊。
For postmillennialism, it's these parables of Jesus.
后签的话呢，是主要讲的这些这个植物的生长的比喻。
About growing mustard seed.
芥菜种的比喻。
For amillennialism, it's actually 2 Thessalonians 1.
那么无签呢，主要是贴后第一章。
Now, this is a less familiar argument.
那我想这是大家比较不熟悉的辩论。
So I'm going to spend some time explaining it.
所以我花点时间解释。
Let's go first to 2 Thessalonians 1.
那我们先请看到贴后第一章，贴上的后书第一章。
And let us read together verses 5 to 10.
我们从第5节念到第10节行，这正是神公义判断的明证，叫你们可算配得神的国。你们就是为这国受苦，神 既是公义的，就必将患难报应加给的人，也必使你们这受患难的人与我们同得平安。那时主耶稣同他有能力的天使从天上的火焰中显现，要报应那不认识神和那不听从我主耶稣福音的人，他们要受刑罚，就是永远沉沦，离开主的面和他全能的荣光。这正是主降临，要在他圣徒身上得荣耀，又在一切信他的人身上显为稀奇的那日子。我们对你们做的见证，你们也见了。
The first issue I'd like you to focus on is the issue of a unified second coming versus a two-stage second coming.
所以我首先让你看见的时候，这讲到耶稣再来是一个合一的，这是单一的再来，而不是对抗那些认为耶稣再来分两次。
Because the dispensationalists think that there's two stages, the rapture and then the visible coming.
因为这个时代论者认为耶稣再来分两次，先是被提，然后再公开的这个降临。
And this visible coming is sometimes called the coming with the saints, because the saints are already with Christ in heaven.
那这个时代论者说，耶稣再来的这个里面的第二次被称为是与圣徒同来，因为圣徒已经被提了。
The question is, are those two events widely separated in time, or really virtually simultaneous, one after the other?
所以真正的关键议题在于，到底耶稣基督再来，所谓时代论说这两件，这个为圣徒，一个是与圣徒同来，这两个是不是合一的一件事，还是中间被大灾难分开成两个事件呢？
If you look at the passage, you can see that there are two categories of people.
如果你仔细看贴后第一章里面讲的两类人。
There are unbelievers, and they're bringing trouble on the Christians.
这里首先说到这不信的来逼迫这些信徒，带来痛苦麻烦。
And there are believers who are experiencing the trouble and the suffering and the persecution.
那第二类就是信徒，他们遭到苦难，被逼迫。
And then in verses, that's already mentioned in verse 5.
这是第5节已经讲到的了。
And then in verse 6 and 7,
第
there
6、
is
第7节，
God promises to bring relief.
神应许带来这个解救。
And you can see what happens to both sides.
你可以发现对这两类人带来什么结果。
The believers have relief in verse 7.
第7节说，这个信徒将得到拯救、解救。
And in verse 6, those who are bringing trouble are troubled. God brings trouble on them.
那前面第5节说，这些来逼迫别人、带苦难给别人，他们将遭到报应，他们得到苦难。
Now you can see that's an operation of God's justice.
你看，这是上帝的公义的判断的明证彰显。
And it's a very fundamental thing to God that He brings justice in judging the world.
那这是非常基要，就是上帝他的公义来审判这个世界。
Now, what are these two sides in detail?
那这个两边来看的话，细节是什么？
The relief to the saints, what does that mean?
所谓信徒得到这个圣徒得到拯救是
Oh,
什么意
before we
思？
get to what it means, notice in verse 7 that the two parts are simultaneous.
那在我们讲之前，先看第7节讲到这两部分是同时发生的。
In the middle of the verse, it talks about the beginning of the verse talks about granting relief to you.
Verse 7。
Verse 7.
第7节首先说到说，也必赐给你们。
And then the middle of the verse, when the Lord Jesus is revealed from heaven.
所以中间说到那时，主耶稣同他有名天使从天上啊。
So the word
显现。
when fixes the time period. It's the time for relief and for bringing trouble on the persecutors.
就是这个那时是指说，同时包含了这些信徒、圣徒得拯救，也报应那些逼迫人、这些不信的人。
Simultaneously.
这两个事件是同时发生的。
Okay, now, what's the real meaning of the comfort that comes to the saints?
那对于圣徒得到安慰来说，这个仔细的意义是什么？
We know that it is the permanent relief of being taken out of the troubles of this world.
那这是一个彻底的解救，信徒被提离开这个世界，痛苦的世界，
And being with Christ.
那与基督耶稣同在。
So that's what is called the rapture.
这才是因为被称为被提圣徒被提的原因。
Now, what about the other part? What happens to the persecutors?
那对那些逼迫人的这个 给别人苦难人来说呢？
The answer in verse 9 is that they suffer punishment in hell.
第9节是他们要受刑罚，在受地狱的永刑。
That's not just a 7-year tribulation.
那不只是7年的大灾难而已。
Now, you see, that actually means that the punishment in hell, which comes at the open second coming, is virtually simultaneous with the rapture.
那这里说到耶稣基督再来的时候，既是这些不信人遭到这个毁灭刑罚，而且圣徒被提是同时发生的。
So I conclude that there's only one second coming.
所以我的结论就是，耶稣再来就只有一个事件，不是两次。
Both of these things happen at the same time.
那这2件事同时发生。
And actually, that's what Christians have believed up until 1830.
那这是从早期教会到1830年来说，所有的基督徒相信。
This idea of 2 second comings is popular now, but many people do not realize that it's a fairly new idea.
时代论说到耶稣再来分2次，这个呢，很多人不知道，其实是1830年这个以后才开始的讲法，以前是没有的。
Now, just because something is new doesn't mean it's wrong.
当然，不因为它是新就一定是错的哈。
But it should make you suspicious.
开始想，为什么以前都不知道，就是1830年以后才知道呢？
Why, for almost 2,000 years of church history, did nobody observe that there were 2 second comings?
为什么将近2000年教会历史，没有人知道这个耶稣再来要分2次呢？
And of course, you know what my answer would be.
所以你就知道我的答案。
It's because it's not there in the Bible.
因为它不在圣经里面。
But as I say, it is popular in our day.
但我说，在今天来说是很流行的看法。
Okay, now we're going on to a second issue.
那现在我们看到第2个议题，
Because we know what happens to the believers when Christ comes.
我们知道主耶稣再来的时候，信徒他们得到了拯救。
And we know what happens to the unbelievers.
我们知道那些不信人遭到什么刑罚。
Now, we can further define this.
我们可以更仔细的来定义。
We know from this and other passages that the believers, when Christ appears, they will be transformed in their bodies. They will, and we, I should say, because we are among them, we will receive resurrection glory in our transformed bodies.
从这段经文和其他经文，我们知道，当耶稣再来的时候呢，我们得拯救是指我们身体要复活，变成荣耀的身体，身体改变成为复活荣耀身体。
Well, then what happens to the unbelievers?
那对那个不信的人呢？
We've already observed that they are punished in hell.
我们看见他们在地狱里受刑罚。
And that's described in verse 9.
那是在第10节所说的。
The punishment of eternal destruction away from the presence of the Lord.
他们就是永远沉沦，离开主的面。
Okay, so you can see the destiny of the 2 kinds of people.
所以你看到这2种不同的人的命运，
It's resurrection glory and it's hell.
一个是荣耀的复活，一个是在地狱里。
Who will populate a millennium, a silver age, if it exists after Christ comes back?
如果在耶稣再来之后有的这个银色是千禧年，那到底谁在这个千禧年当中在这地上？
When people picture this silver age, it's an age that is very good, but the human beings still die. They may live a long time, but they still die.
但这些说这个有中间这个千禧年的是很好的银色时期，可是那里面的人还是会死的。
But these people can't die anymore.
但这些信徒已经复活，他们不会再死了。
And these people have already suffered the second death.
那这些不信的人已经开始遭遇第2次的死，也不会再。
What you need is people with bodies like Adam.
那你所需要的活在这个千禧年，这个是人是像亚当有身体的人。
People who've not yet reached that final state.
这个人还没有达到最终的状态啊。
And there's nobody there to be in that position.
在那个时候，这种状况没有人是在那儿的。
Now this is a problem.
这是问题。
It's a problem for the people who believe in a silver age after Christ returns.
这对于那些相信耶稣基督再来之后，还有个银色时期千禧年来说，这是个很严重的问题。
That is the premillennialists.
就是所谓的千禧年前派。
And once I realized what was going on in 2 Thessalonians, I asked some of my premillennialist friends.
当我明白这个贴凑第1章的时候，我就去问我这些时代论的朋友们
What do you do with this?
那你们怎么解释呢？
And their answer was, Well, that's a problem.
他说：“哦，我们承认这是有问题。
Now, the dispensationalists have an answer, ”
但是这时代论者是给了一个答案，
and they actually use this same observation of mine.
他们同时是因为我这个图表来讲呢，
They say the second coming has to be in 2 stages in order to create this third group of people.
他们说耶稣再来一定要分2次，才有可能把这第3种中间的这种莫须有状况把它摆进去，不然不分2次怎么摆进去呢？
Because there are people during that 7-year tribulation who come to have faith in Christ.
因为在那7年大战当中还有人在那里，他们可以悔改信耶
And
稣。
those people are those that enter the millennium.
那些人是进入了千禧年。
Now, that's a very clever answer.
那这是一个很聪明的答案。
But because I don't believe in a 2-stage second coming, I don't think it works.
那因为我不相信耶稣再来分2次，所以我不认为那个讲法能成功。
But if the second coming is 1 stage, you don't have anybody left.
所以耶稣就再来是1次的事件的话，那就不可能有任何第3种的状况的人存在了。
Now, another possible answer is to say, well, 2 Thessalonians 1 does not by itself give all the details about the second coming.
那另一个答案就是说，这个贴后第1章并没有把所有耶稣再来的所有的细节都讲到，
So maybe it just doesn't mention this third category.
所以他们就说，那可能就是这章圣经没有提到有第3种状况的人。
But the trouble with that answer is that the whole Bible from beginning to end is about the conflict between people who are rebelling against God and the people who have been reconciled to Him through Christ.
那这个困难在于说，因为圣经从一开始告诉我们，全世界就这2种人，一个是在基督耶稣与神和好的，一个是继续抵挡背叛神的人。
Of course, people in both categories are inconsistent.
当然这2种这个不同的人里面，他们里面是有些不一致的情况。
But at a heart level, you're either for God or against Him.
但从心里来说，你只有2种可能，一个是你的心是归属于神，一个是你反对神的。
And this age is the age of salvation, where people are offered the chance to move from one category to the other.
那今天看啊，现在是拯救的日子，拯救的时期，所以现在救恩来到了，让我们悔改信靠耶稣。
So the gospel is about saying, turn to God while there's time.
那所以福音是说，趁还有今日，赶快悔改归向神。
Come to Christ, because now is the day of salvation.
现在就来归信基督，因为现在看来就是上帝拯救的日子。
And when Christ returns, that's the end of the day of salvation.
当耶稣再来的时候，那个悦纳拯救日就结束了。
So at that point, you're either for God or against Him.
在那个时候呢，就只有2种状况，就是你是悔改信靠耶稣，一个是继续背叛上帝的。
And I think the people who try to create a third category in danger of undermining that fundamental polarity in humanity between the servants of God and the servants of Satan.
所以耶稣再来的时候，你还在把人分成3种，还有第3种的话，也就弄垮、弄松了这2种的对立，一个属神的人，一个是背叛神的人了。
Well, that means that premillennialism at this point seems to have a really big difficulty.
所以这样看来，千禧年前派在这一点上有很大的困难。
But what about postmillennialism?
那么后千禧年派呢？
The difficulty with postmillennialism is that 2 Thessalonians 1 pictures believers as suffering and is possibly persecuted right up until Christ comes.
对于这个后千立场困难，是因为这个贴后第1章说到的是信徒们在今天的受苦难、受逼迫，一直到耶稣再来之前，还在苦难中被逼迫。
It doesn't sound like an epic when Christians are at ease and they are admired and that kind of
不
thing.
像好像说的他们所说的这个基督教会越来越兴旺，人们很羡慕教会福音传得更广，越来越黄金时代，不是这样的图画。
So if you want to know, I am an amillennialist.
如果你要知道的话，我是一个无千禧年派的论者，
And it's largely because of this passage.
主要因为就是贴后第1章这个经文。
But I would urge you to keep your ears open to people in all 3 positions.
但是我劝你，让你的耳朵继续打开，来聆听这3种不同的立场的讲法。
Because as I've illustrated, there are passages that at least appear to be pointing in another direction.
因为我已经指出，有其他的经文看来好像是指出别的方向、别的立场。
And I believe that we can learn some true things even from people who hold the wrong position.
我相信，即使人们采取错误的立场，我们还是可以从他学到一些，包括正面、反面的功课。
So sometimes I try to introduce a little humor, and I say, I am an optimistic premillennialist.
那我有时候幽默的说，我是一个乐观主义的
premillennialist.
我是个乐观主义的前千禧年派。
But then I explain it.
那我会解释一下。
That the premillennialist thinks of the time after Christ's second coming as this glorious age where Christ rules over the nations and where the earth is prosperous and blessed.
那么前先你看说，耶稣再来之后已经千禧年，这千禧年是一个算是一个越来越荣耀，这个越来越丰富茂盛的时代。
And I will tell them I believe that too.
那我跟他们说，我也是这样相信的。
Except I'm optimistic about it.
只是呢，我是很乐观主义的。
I believe it's so good that it goes on forever.
那我因为是如此的美好，这个会存到永远的。
In other words, what they think is the silver age, I think is already so good that it's the golden age.
换句话说，他们认为是银色时期是千禧年派，千禧年发生是银色，那我认为是因为我这么乐观，我说那个时候已经就是黄金时期，就是新天新地开始了。
But I sympathize with their longing for the coming of Christ.
但是我同情他们，他们是非常渴慕盼望耶稣再来。
Now, admittedly, some people have gone wrong and they try to set dates for the exact time when Christ will return.
当人们想要去算耶稣再来前后的时间表的这个细节时间的时候，他们就犯了很大的错误了。
And Christ himself has said that's not right.
主耶稣自己说这是不对的。
He said no one knows the day or the hour.
他说没有人知道那日子那时辰。
Right? So there can be an extreme of that kind.
所以有一些极端的去算时间日期的人了。
But mostly the premillennialists put everyone else to shame in the fervor of their longing for the second
但大
coming.
部分的前的这个人，他们让其他人感到很这个有点羞辱，就是因为他们是那么热烈盼望耶稣再来，你好像不像他那样的爱慕耶稣再来。
And you can see that longing in the pages of the New Testament.
因为你可以看到新约圣经本身说到我们要如何等的这个盼望热烈盼望主耶稣来。
So if you or I do not have that longing, there's something the matter with us.
那如果我们不那么热烈盼望耶稣再来的话，那我们出了问题了。
And we need to learn from the premillennialists.
我们需要向前先贤派的学习。
So you see what I mean. Just keep appreciating what other people, what insights they do have.
所以你看到这是个例子，就是说我们如何去继续向那些有一点亮光的人学习。
Now, likewise with the postmillennialists.
那同样的，面对这个所谓后千禧年派。
The big emphasis that I'm attracted to in postmillennialists is the emphasis on the progress of the gospel.
那这后千禧年派的吸引我的地方是，他们强调的福音要不断的这个前进，不断的扩张。
And the postmillennialists will point to the Great Commission in Matthew 28.
那么后千的人会说，不断指出马太福音28章大使命传福音。
And Jesus says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me."
主耶稣说，天上地上所有的权柄都已经赐给我了。
Go therefore.
所以因此你们要去。
Now, when he says go, does he say go and preach the gospel futilely because nobody will listen?
难道主耶稣大使命说你们去向外面传福音，但是很多人会不听，很少人才会信。
That's how some people act.
那好像有些人这样看这样想啊。
But that's not what he says.
但这不是主耶稣说的。
Right? He says, "Go and make disciples of all nations."
所以主耶稣说，你们要去使万民做我的门徒。
So there is the prospect that the nations will all come actually and submit to the gospel of Christ.
的确，从这层面看，是万国万民会悔改，听到福音传给他们，归向基督的。
That does not mean every last individual.
那这并不是说每一个人都会这样。
And postmillennialists don't believe that.
那么后千禧派也不是说每个人都会信耶稣，
But they're optimistic about what will happen as we spread the gospel
但他们
message.
很乐观，是因为当我们传福音的时候，一定有人会信的，
And as we pray for people to be converted.
而且我们为他们祷告，让大家求主带领他们悔改。
And you can see that's relevant here in Taiwan.
我想你也看到，这是个在今天台湾的处境呢是很适切的。
I know that there are many people who have not heard the gospel.
我知道还有很多人没有听到耶稣的福音。
And many people who hear the gospel, they're still captive to ancestor worship.
有些人听到福音，可是还是继续被拜偶像、祖先这样捆绑的，
Or they're captive to modern materialism and earning money and things.
或者是被这个物质拜金主义、这个追求财富享乐捆绑了。
Can you convert them? Can I convert them?
你能够改变他们，我能够带他悔改吗？
No, it takes spiritual power.
那只有靠着圣灵大能，
The Holy Spirit has to work.
只有圣灵才能够拯救他们。
But that's precisely what Jesus is promising in the Great Commission.
那正是大使命与主耶稣所应许的，
He has all authority.
他有一切的权柄。
Now you see, that's something to learn that the postmillennialists focus on.
那这是我们所要向这个后千禧年派他们所学习的这个焦点。
Okay, so we've looked at all three positions.
好，我们看这三种不同的立场了。
One more thing.
还有一件
I
事，
not only call myself an optimistic
我
premillennialist,
不只是说我自己是更乐观的千禧年前派，
but I call myself an earthy amillennialist.
Personally
Earthy,
OK，
because I believe not only in a new heaven but in a new earth.
啊，我称我自己是一个地上的这个新地的无千禧年派，因为我不只是相信有新天，也相信有新地。
Some of the older amillennialists, their hope seems to be to die and go to heaven.
那有一些以前的这些后派人认为他们希望死了上天堂了。
And indeed, if you trust in Christ, when you die, you will go to meet with Christ. in
是
heaven.
的，那你相信耶稣基督，你死的时候就到天上去，好的无比。
That's part of our hope.
这是我们盼望的一部分。
But the hope doesn't end there.
但是我们的盼望不只是这样子而已。
And our life does not end in just being spirits in heaven.
我们的盼望不是在于只是说我们死了之后像灵魂飘到天上去了。
We are promised resurrection bodies.
我们神允许我们有复活的身体，
And our resurrection bodies will fit into a new earth.
我们这个复活的身体活在这个新天的这个新地上。
So I believe that the earthy and material character of the new world is important to grasp.
这个新天新地仍然是有物质的，这个是我们需要抓住的重点。
And not all amillennialists emphasize it.
不是所有的后迁的人都这样强调的。
And then what about the postmillennialists? I call myself a non-quantitative postmillennialist.
刚刚说不是所有无限这样强调的，现在说论到这个后迁 not quantitative，
That's not a very good label for it. But it means I want to have that optimism about the gospel.
我要像这些后迁人一样，这样对福音有这样子的这个传福音热忱。
But the postmillennialists also say Christ can't come right away.
那个后迁也是说，基督耶稣不能现在立刻就来。
First, there has to be this silver age.
必须先要有这个普世丰收庄稼这个信主这个银色时期，
And there have to be many more Christians.
还有更多的基督徒才行。
Well, I hope there will be many more Christians.
我不知道。
But I can't say there have to be a lot more than now before Christ can come.
我希望有更多的基督徒，但是我不能说非得要有更多的基督徒耶稣才能再来。
So I can't put a quantity on how many Christians there have to
所以我
be.
不能这个把它这个量化，说一定达到基督徒有多少亿的数目，耶稣才在，我不能这样说。所以我是一个非量化的后迁者。
So as far as I can see, Christ can come anytime.
对我来说的话，耶稣基督随时都可以再来。
But if he doesn't come quite yet and the gospel goes out, then I hope there will be more and more
那
Christians.
他说还没有再来的话，那我当然盼望赶快传福音，让有更多人信耶稣，成为基督徒。
So you don't have to have exactly the same position as I do.
你不必和我一定要一样的立场。
These things are disputed, as we've seen.
那这些事我们说过是有争议的。
But I'm using myself as an example to encourage you to listen respectfully to the other positions.
我用我自己做例子来劝你来去尊重并聆听其他立场所讲的。
And to keep from them whatever is genuinely in the Bible.
那么他们所说的，如果是合乎圣经的话，有圣经真正支持，我们就把它留住。